One of the most counterintuitive things as a magician when performing magic to people is showing magic to religious people. And that is the commentary topic of this video. As a magician, in case you don't know, in the background, I am a part-time working performer, showing off magic tricks to people, things like that. I always leave my magic channel in the description, so if you do want to see some of my work, definitely check that out. But I thought I'd share some personal stories, personal experiences from my working experience as a magician, and hopefully you get a good laugh or idea of just some of the most interesting or weird things I've had to come across. But but in this case, talking about like showing magic to religious people, and this is a very counterintuitive thing because very conservative religious groups flat out just forbid magic tricks and magicians, because to them doing magic tricks is kind of an insult to their gods, like divine prestige or powers, things like that. So magic tricks in general are forbidden within the church and just the religious culture in itself, because they see that as making Satan or the devil happy, which is totally not true, because it's just magic tricks, sleight of hand stuff. There's nothing to do with like witchcraft or things like that, and that's actually the big reason that they forbid it. But the thing is, by the way, this is a 20 Killstreak gameplay. I was so close to getting the nuke in this game, but again, I missed it out on it. But still working on that. But anyways, I got an inquiry to do a magic show for this very conservative Jewish group, and it just so happened that like they asked me to perform on their day of the Sabbath, which is actually on a Friday evening, or in their own terms they call it Shabbat. And so there was a lot of limitations that were put in terms of what I was able to do. And just in terms of the extreme thing is that this was a big group. This was 60 kids, okay? Now, normally I would not do such a group that big unless I had the right to use a hands-free mic and amplifier. But because of their Jewish traditions, on Sabbath day, you're not allowed to use any sort of electricity or electronics. Now, the only exclusion from that is like ceiling lights, things like that, which it's kind of a bit questionable in my opinion. But anyways, so they forbid me from using any amplifier or microphone, which is kind of stupid in terms of having to perform for 60 kids, even though the person who hired me was trying to convince me that like the kids were like quiet and obedient, which they were far from it. So I had a lot of difficulty fighting their noise level. But then also, actually the kids were some of the boys were pretty rude, I have to admit, to tell you the truth. So it was hard to really get them to really cooperate and work with them and show them magic. And worst part too is like they were half an hour late to the show, and so I only ended up doing a half an hour show, even though they wanted a half an hour show. But at the same time, they wasted a lot of my time, so I ended up charging them extra. And then another thing that was kind of interesting too was that they are not allowed to use they're not allowed to write or draw with pens. They're not even allowed to touch pens or anything that's a writing utensil on the Sabbath day. So I came to a couple tricks where I actually had to require them to write or draw stuff, but then they actually had to stop me right in the middle of a trick, and just because they said they had to explain it to me that they weren't allowed to touch a writing utensil, and so that kind of caught me off guard. It's definitely a bit of a culture shock there, and but thankfully I accommodated the best of my ability and whatnot. But you know, it's just kind of like ironic, you know, as a magician, you know, you're trying to show off these fun little magic tricks to people, but when you have these religious groups that like surprisingly requests magic from you, you kind of have a lot of issues and like religious barriers to try to overcome. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed the gameplay and the commentary. Hope to see you guys in my future videos. Till next time, peace.